You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
Matt Lazowitz, and welcome to this week's episode of Bat Chat with Matt and Will, a Batman ranking podcast, where each week my co-hosts Will Nevin and I dig into 3 Batman stories, discuss them, and rank them on the big board, thus creating a giant list of Batman stories from best to worst. Will, how's it going tonight?
Oh, Matt, it's going. I'm trudging along in between coughing fits. Sometimes the coughs are very productive, so I feel like I'm getting something done today. Got a curveball for you. Let's start our comic book podcast by talking about comic books, specifically Batman.
It's unusual, but I'll allow it.
I know. So, because I click on the stories that Google News serves me, it continues to believe like, oh my God, you're super interested in comic book stories. So I don't know what fucking clickbait website was covering an interview that Tom King did. And it touched on one of the stories we will talk about tonight, but we'll get there when we get there. The thing that I am struck by is that he talks about the death of Alfred. And motherfucker says, oh yeah, that was a scarecrow dream. That was never supposed to be real. And then editorial liked it.
So we have editorial to blame for all of this.
Yeah. And literally King says, I just thought everybody after me was going to bring him back. But the way he tells it, and look, I could be bothered to look up the story and give you all the cast of characters, but hey, you got Google out there. You can do it yourself. You know, he says he turns it in, and the editor's like, oh, cool, good. You know, I guess Alfred's dead now. And Tom was like, no, he's not really dead. No, he's dead. He's totally dead. There was no conversation in the office about killing Alfred. They're just like, oh, totally cool. Yeah, let's do it. Like, what assholes?
One wonders, what if it had been Damien or Tim or some other character who didn't have a book at that particular moment? Would it have been equally like, sure, you killed him, great. But because Alfred doesn't headline a book, it doesn't matter.
And look, I'm not some kind of stan. I don't have an emotional relationship with Alfred. I'm just saying that seems like a bad business idea to not even have a consult about it.
You would think something like that would have been one of these things where it's like, all right, so where do the beats of this move forward? I'm going to say a very cynical thing right now.
Oh, please do.
But I'm going to say it. That really sounds a lot more like Marvel editorial than DC.
Yeah. And
from what we know of Marvel editorial and their stand on things right now.
And knowing that, the issue itself makes so much more sense. The physical layout and the placement of the pages, you have that awfully graphic splash page that then just builds up to a Batcat page, right? It's like, oh, we're going back to the city. We're going back to Gotham, whatever it was. If Alfred wasn't really dead, that makes all the sense in the world.
Did he specifically say, I assume it was Damien's scarecrow dream?
Yes, it was. The death of Alfred was the scariest thing imaginable for Damien.
That makes sense. I absolutely could see that, and I think it would have been fascinating for Bruce to come back to a broken Damien blaming himself for Alfred's death and really dealing with that, and then Alfred having to deal with Damien's trauma. I think there's actually way more story there than what we got out of all of this.
Tom King motherfucking accidentally killed Alfred. Didn't that just fucking beat all?
I wonder if historically, like, there's other times where there have been characters who have died by accident in similar ways, or have been resurrected in similar ways. Someone forgot the character was dead, and suddenly they're back.
Seems like a Bob Haney thing.
Oh, yes. One story I do remember hearing, we did Countdown to Infinite Crisis where Blue Beetle gets killed. And at the beginning of that issue, Booster makes a big deal about having given up wearing the costume. And halfway through the issue, he shows up in the costume again. And that was because, and I know I read this, Ed Bennis, who's penciling those pages, had misread them and drew Booster in costume. And they didn't have the time because they needed the book to come out. So they just rewrote around it about him deciding to go back into costume.
Well, there you go. Apparently, these things we read and think about and discuss and invest so much time into, they don't really matter. They just don't fucking matter.
There is a story I heard about a writer who we no longer talk about because he has done terrible, terrible things. And he did a story with Bill Sienkiewicz. And the story went, he sent Sienkiewicz the script, he got the art pages back, and the art pages did not resemble the story that he had sent to Sienkiewicz. So he took the pages, he laid them all out in front of himself, put them in an order that he thought made sense, and then rewrote the story around the art that he had. And apparently this is not uncommon in working with Sienkiewicz, because apparently Frank Miller had similar stories on doing Elektra Assassin with Sienkiewicz, where there's weird stuff in the art that wasn't in the script that Miller had no idea where it came from.
I just drew some stuff that I thought was cool.
And if you're as good an artist as Bill Sienkiewicz, you can get away with doing weird shit like that.
Random book chat that I started this week, 11/22/63.
Oh, okay.
A lot of fun.
Yes. Yes, I read that many moons ago. I already finished the entire 500 pages of the new Dresden Files novel, just burned through that all weekend, and just started Brigands and Bread Knives. It is the third book in a series of cozy fantasy novels. The first one is about an orc who's been an adventurer for years and has given up the adventuring life and opened the first coffee shop in a fantasy world. Legends and lattes. And then in each of the books after that is, another one of these, like, they're just little, like, light stories. This is about a character that said orc met in the second book, who's now moved to the fantasy city where Viv the orc opened the coffee shop and has opened a bookstore next door.
Well, of course. Tear down that wall. Coffee shop and bookstore. Come on, get going.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get there. They're just light and they're very, just character focused. The stakes are remarkably low and they're just fun. Sometimes that's just good reading.
Yeah. I got the first Dresden Files book. It's in the stack on the iPad to read.
Now, these are not great books, but they are fun books.
Oh, I'm under no illusion that Game of Thrones is good, but it's a fun time and it's an easy read, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, Dresden is very easy to read. It's interesting to see a writer who started out as a young guy and who's now been writing this series for 20-ish years, and how he's evolved as a writer and has evolved in response to criticism of his writing in a good way, not in a, Lucasfilm, let's just do whatever Tumblr says way, but in a, he received criticism for underwriting his female characters. And so over the years, he has evolved and he has improved the way he has written his female characters. Because he starts out, it's, they're dames. Like, this is very noir-y, they're all gorgeous and they're femme fatales or whatever. And over the years, he's added more female characters and added dimensionality to them. It can be kind of rough in those first few books before he starts getting this criticism and realizes, I need to fix this.
Huh. Very interesting.
Yeah. It's a noir with a wizard detective. That's it. It's urban fantasy. It's real. It's a real world with, some magic in it that the public doesn't necessarily believe in. Like, it's X-Files-y. The general public doesn't believe in this stuff. And after that, I think the next thing on my stack is Alex Segura's Alter Ego. But I've got countless books. I could pick from the any number of them at any point. Uh, and I'll tell you, I would never give up reading comics, as many comics as I do, but man, just sitting back and enjoying a book felt good.
Oh, yeah, it does. Look, I haven't been a regular reader in probably about 15 years. But the more I've been going to the gym and getting on the treadmill and running out of things to do, I'm just like, fuck it, let's pick up reading again.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed it.
And I also got this for Christmas from my mother. It is a quote a day Shakespeare book. So
Ooh.
every day is a line from Shakespeare with critical commentary, and I've been reading one a day every day, and it's nice. So I mean, I've read the entire canon except for Henry VIII because I always like to leave one unread from a favorite author, so someday I can always say I can get back to it, and also because Henry VIII is, from what I'm told, really, really bad.
They can't all be winners.
Yeah, as the Reduced Shakespeare Company says in their complete works of William Shakespeare Abridged, this is one of what we call the lesser plays, or the minor plays, or the just plain bad plays. I don't think I'm missing much not having read Henry.
Sometimes we got to make sausage.
Yep. And, Shakespeare was a working playwright. Sometimes you just have to bang out a play. And bang out a play based around the great grand uncle of your patron.
Ugh. As a segue into Bat Chat Movie Chat, did you ever get around to see Hamnet?
I did. Jessie Buckley has earned every acting accolade that she has been given. It is a tremendous performance. And it is a beautiful film. Just really gorgeous looking film. Beautifully shot.
Nummy, 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 nummy Oscar bait.
Yes, it is very much an Oscar movie. This weekend, if all goes according to plan, I intend to see two more of the remaining 3 or 4 Best Picture nominees I haven't seen. I have tickets for Secret Agent and Sentimental Value. And
That
Train
should be
Dreams.
fun.
Train Dreams is on Netflix, so I'll be able to see that. And I think the only other one is F1, and I just can't bring myself to care.
How did that get a Best Picture?
The same way that Top Gun Maverick did, it's a technical feat.
Ugh.
But if it were 90 minutes, maybe I would see it. But it's like 2 hours and 17 minutes or something like that. I can't spend that much of my life on a car racing movie.
How much time do we need to see cars go fast and Brad Pitt deal with mortality?
The only movie I want to see with that much cars in it is another Fast and the Furious. Because that's about family.
It's about family. So send help next week.
I saw an advanced screening.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Might get out to that this weekend. Looks like all of our events are going to get canceled because it's too goddamn cold here.
I enjoyed it a lot. The other movie I'm seeing this weekend should be Shelter, the new Jason Statham, which is a Jason Statham movie. He has a mysterious past. He is run afoul of some covert government organization. Hijinks ensue.
Is he a beekeeper in this one?
I don't know. He seems to be living on an island by himself.
Are there bees on the island? Does he keep the bees on the island?
We'll have to see.
I hope they're bees. There gotta be bees.
But we are leaving our guest in silence this entire time.
Oh, we have a guest tonight.
We do indeed have a guest tonight.
Ah.
Let us say hello yet again to friend of the show and Patreon backer, Josh Weil. How's it going, Josh?
Hello, good to be back. Thank you.
You are more than welcome. What's the last movie you got to see, Josh? I know you don't get out to the theater as much as us, childless guys who can go and see whatever we want when we want.
I don't anymore. Last one at the theater might have been Predator Badlands, but I watched a couple at home last week. I watched Begonia, which was very good.
That movie was tits. I enjoyed that.
I watched Honey Don't, which
I loved Honey Don't.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I did. So what was the first one?
Driveway Dolls.
Driveway Dolls I thought was great. And Honey Don't I feel like is the they didn't get the notes. Like there should have been notes somewhere along the way.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I like the neo noir thing of it.
Yeah, that was there. I mean,
Oh,
Margaret Qualley is great.
oh,
Don't
she's
not a
oh
knock on Margaret Qualley. You could just follow her, but there was a lot of I don't know.
hey, I am never going to. I can feel about something someone other one might not strike somebody else. I'm never gonna argue as long as you're not saying Three Jokers is great. Then I will argue with someone on that point.
I'm not, but I thought that Aubrey Plaza wasn't good in it, and to not get good, captivating Aubrey Plaza, which is just like a gimme, feels negligent.
Okay. I'm looking forward to the upcoming Margaret Qualley, Glenn Powell.
Oh, I saw.
I mean, again, Margaret Qualley, I could watch. She was in Blue Moon, which
I want to see that.
it's
I love
very
Ethan
good.
Hawke.
Ethan Hawke is excellent in it. Sadly, the best supporting actress field this year was so packed that Margaret Qualley just couldn't quite crack with her role in there, but she was wonderful. Oh, there's a segue somewhere in there. I guess Blue Moon is sort of a romance with Ethan Hawke pining for Margaret Qualley, and tonight we are talking
Oh.
about some Bat romance because we are dropping this episode the week of Valentine's Day. And Josh has long said he wanted to cover a very specific Batcat story. So we thought it was a good time to do that and a couple of other stories of love in the Bat family. Our first story of the night is Super Friends Date Night. This is Batman Volume 3, numbers 36 to 37. The writer is Tom King, with pencils by Clayman, inks by Clayman and Seth Mann, colors by Jordi Belair, letters by Clayton Cowles, and edited by Jamie S. Rich and Maggie Howell. The cover date is February of 2018. The recently engaged Batman and Catwoman go through one of the big trials of any couple, the double date with friends. A night of crime fighting becomes a night out on the town with Superman and Lois Lane.
Will and I are making very different faces right now.
I am making no face other than to hopefully try not to snot everywhere. And then just my general Tom King thoughts. I
So
have nothing against this story, generally.
I was interested. I liked hearing, what you said in the opening about the editorial. And, I'm a firm, hard believer that any problem in comic is editorial's fault, whether it was a mandate or an allowance. Just we remember as it was happening live that the wrap up of the Tom King thing was a mess. It wasn't supposed to be 84, and just the lack of communication in there that's led to this big a status quo change for so long feels like I don't want to say like someone should get fired, but it's like, what are you doing?
There are very few great editors in comic history, people who are remembered for a strong editorial hand. Denny O'Neil was one of them. The Batman era that Denny O'Neil shepherded, along with supplemental help from Archie Goodwin, who's another one of those great editors, or Karen Berger over at Vertigo. Karen Berger handing it off to Shelley Bond. The two of them did something amazing there. But you can see also where even a great editor can get shafted. Something like
I would say, recent history addition to that list should be Jordan B. Was it Jordan B. White during
I think it's D.
Jordan D. White running
I
that X office during the Krakoan era was.
I was about to say I think Jordan is a good example of a great editor who then got shafted by editors higher up the chain telling him, yeah, you got to wrap this thing up. And the end of Krakoa being rushed because of bigger powers.
Oh, yeah, you could see all of it. But I mean, that happens a lot with DC. I mean, the whole New 52 launch and running and going. I mean, there were so many things that Dan Didio said that you'd like to think, we're supposed to be the inside voice.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other interesting part about the interview that King, I suppose, recently gave. Who knows when this happened with the clickbait that Google News serves me. But date night came up, and King said that editorial hated it. They said, in his words, "This isn't what we do." And I thought that was very interesting.
They try
Because
their hardest to not make good comics, but sometimes one or two get past them.
is it because I mean because it was so
Not enough
lacking
punching.
in right, yeah, that it's really there's what one punch, the two punches thrown at once, Superman fighting Dr. Double X's double at the beginning, and then him and Bruce decking
Hmm.
Double X at the end, and that's it. And I guess the mugger getting a baseball to the head. But there's tiny amounts of action in this story.
This is okay. So I mean, there's so many things about just comic industry over the last 30 years and the changes. And honestly, the editorial environment and the things you hear now feel like major culture improvements for sure from going back. But you're starting to hear after the success of some of the big anime and manga successes and how big they've been getting here. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, most of these anime movies finished somewhere in 10 to 12 million dollars. This thing opened to 75. It finished at like 180. It made like Thunderbolts money. And I can bring this because even this morning I saw a recent quote from Jim Lee where he's talking about like, what is it in our industry where we can't do this or we're not? What are we missing here? Like, because there's a reason people are latching on to this. I was talking to someone this morning and they're asking me, like, what issues are you reading for tonight? And I started describing date night and I just got like, I was so excited and happy thinking about it, just gushing, even though I've read it so many times. This is the slice of life episode in between major battles on like an anime or a manga, where you've got like 4 episodes that are all the same fight, just it takes so long and it's going. And then the next one is like they're shopping for a birthday present for someone in the party, which are always your favorite. Like this is Fire Island players from
Yes,
Avatar: The
Avatar,
Last Airbender. Like
or
these
or
are the ones when you get to exhale and take a step back and just enjoy your characters and just have these relationship moments that there isn't. This is what makes you love it for when the stakes go high.
best episode of Avatar for me is still Tales of Ba Sing Se. I will cry my eyes out at the Iroh story in Tales of Ba Sing Se every time.
Oh yeah.
So this is from an appearance on the Batman Book Club podcast. But King says DC hated it. They did not want to do it when I proposed it. After I wrote it, I got a nasty gram from Tom refuses to name the editor.
Dan Didio.
Uh, I
No,
had
Didio was gone. Bob Harris.
never do this again. This is not who we are. My most successful issue was despised, and I had to fight very hard to get that one little double date because, I mean, there's violence in it, there's robbery and stuff, but they're like, this is not Batman.
We've covered issues that aren't quite
This
this, but
is so Batman.
yes, we could go down the big board and we could find immediately jumping to mind 24/7 from Devin Grayson and Roger Robinson in Gotham Knights is just a whole bunch of like one page like vignettes of a day in the life of Batman. There's next to no action. It's a lot of people talking about how Batman has affected their lives. This is, and yes, well, it's a Tom King comic. It's going to read like a Tom King comic, but it is not as Tom Kingy as so much of the other Tom King we have read.
Oh, that's true. That is very true.
And it is Tom King doing his Tom King thing to good effect in most places. The parallel narratives in the first issue, I think, really work. They work for me because it's giving you this very specific insight into both Bruce and Clark and seeing how that plays off each other. That kind of juxtaposition is not just a Tom King thing, it's a literary device, and it works here for these two icons.
It gets at some real emotion because there's that scene toward the end of the first issue where they're both trying to like examine their friendship, and Superman says, "Well, look, he didn't call me. It's just his way of telling me that we're not really friends." And that hurt. Like that really hurt because that's a natural like we worry about ourselves and our own relationships, and that's like a thing I could imagine myself saying. And that kind of doubt, like even for a guy like Superman, and it was very real. And we rarely get to a real emotional beat in the funny pages, and I appreciated that moment.
This is part of bringing them back together and recreating that. Like this was the New 52's never happened. We're back. We have our characters and their history and relationships. Like it started with Tomasi in was he on Superman or Action
Superman.
when he did the first Super Son story,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
But there's something in the way King crafted this that all the parallels, as you mentioned, but it's also, and this might be why someone looks at it and says this isn't Batman. These two comics might be the most Bruce Wayne dialogue, Batman dialogue that you get outside of like a bad writer who doesn't get it. How often does Bruce talk? There are three characters that can make him have, or four, I guess, that he doesn't look so high above that he doesn't control the relationship, that they can make him have uncomfortable silences or have to really dialogue or talk. And I would say it's Alfred, Selina, Clark, and Diana. Right? Leslie. Okay.
But that's
Because
probably
he makes the comment in here like Gordon's his best friend, and it's like no, he's not. Like Gordon doesn't have that. He controls the environment and everything in the relationship with Gordon. Like he controls it with the boys, usually too much and creating tension in the comics. Like, but he can't do that with Selina. He can't do it with Clark. And so you're actually in these parallels. You have a lot of Bruce dialogue. You're getting so much out of that character by getting to use them to have these conversations as they're switching back and forth. Like it's Bruce and Clark, then it's Bruce and Selina. Like it just works so well, I thought. I mean, this was, I don't know how many times I've read this when I read it again today. This one's high up for me.
I also think we don't see it enough, but I also think his relationship with Lois is similar to that. We see it very rarely, but there's one moment, I think it's in a Bendis Superman, where they're talking and Bruce is at the Kents and he comes in through the door and Lois they say something, you didn't just appear, he did it once. Lois makes it very clear he did it once. Lois is a force of nature.
Yeah.
You do not fuck with Lois Lane. Her dynamic with Selina is delightful.
Oh my God.
Because
in every issue that they did of it. The bachelorette party one is just pure like
there's no one else in the world who gets it.
Gets it.
Even if Lois is talking to Linda Park or Iris West or Sue Dibney, that is a very different relationship. Maybe Steve Trevor. Steve might get it too because of who Diana is. But to understand why you are with someone who is above and beyond what you expect of humanity. And I just love Lois not get like him. Why I just of anyone him? And I love Selina's response.
Him.
It's just when I fall, he catches me. Bruce says the same thing about Selina to Clark later. The parallels. I love how this defines the characters in relationship to each other without either character or any of these characters being viewed as superior to the others. It is all very much on a plane. And it's also funny.
Yeah. The whole baseball thing. They get into the argument of, Clark's like, you could never hit, like, you wouldn't even be able to see. And Bruce just, with enough planning, he can do anything. Like, they're riding the Ferris wheel 10 minutes later, and he's still like, at a certain speed, the baseball would fall apart. So he has to keep it below that speed, which means I have a threshold that I could.
But let's be honest though. If Superman wanted to, he could totally throw it by him. He laid it up for him.
I think there might be a little bit of that. There also might be a little bit of Clark being a little too cocky, that he really believed that he could do this and there's no way. And Bruce just getting it past it. I don't know if Bruce could do it a second time.
Yeah.
Well, in the second pitch, Superman throws him a changeup.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You're not seeing it. And I actually like Bruce is seeing that, okay, like the top speed is 241 miles per hour and it's 90 feet away, and the acceleration to get and so when he's at this point in the windup, I swing, like you're just hoping it's over the center. You're not tracking that pitch, but
Yeah, no, it's a matter of if he's throwing this high and inside, I'm fucked.
That baseball would go right through you.
Yeah, that would take your head off.
this comic is delightful. This
And
is absolutely one of the high points of the King run for me. His depiction of Batcat, just that relationship, those are the best issues as far as I'm concerned. And in this stretch that's starting here for, about the next 25 issues or so, 20 issues until the wedding ish or whatever, like this is some of the best Batcat I think we've ever gotten. So Booster Gold issue doesn't count because that's an abomination.
I
But everything
also
else.
the mugger specifically. Did either of you pick up the joke with what the mugger is saying? The mugger dressed as the question.
Yeah. Yes.
It's spouting Rand. It's Randian philosophy.
That's pretty good.
And so it's the whole thing with Ditko and Ayn Rand. The things question is saying, they're not quotes, but it's spouting Randian philosophy. And so I love it. And then he gets clocked in the head by a baseball. It's like, good. And then the bit at the end was Selena stole his wallet.
Of course.
Yeah.
For fun.
Right. Why not? This is charming. And I think we could use more issues like this. And I think, without spoiling too much for those who haven't read it, while it is a more action-packed issue in some respects, the most recent issue of Fraction's Batman
I was going to say that.
does something very similar with Bruce out on a date, and yes, they're being pursued by ninjas, but he and his date are bantering, and it's just this sort of fun little character rom-com with ninjas.
Have we gotten any of these in Detective yet? Because I don't think he did it as much in Nightwing, but All New Wolverine, Tom Taylor, every trade was like a 5-issue big arc and then one like step away, almost like comedy, like the one where Squirrel Girl comes to her with a Wolverine and brings
Jonathan
her
the
Wolverine because she thinks Laura can talk to Wolverines. Like I could see Detective. He's shown that style before, and that would be great. A Bat Bam issue once a trade.
The anniversary issue, 1100, was a fun little lighter story. Yes.
I have not started them. I'm trade waiting, so
I'm
looking forward to both.
I don't know if they're going to do it where the first 2 arcs are connected. So I don't know if it's going to be traded as like an 8-issue trade or a 5 and then the 3 plus 1100, which is a standalone. It would probably do it that way. And now we're into the second big arc right now. But yeah, I could definitely see Taylor doing more of those because yes, that Jonathan the Wolverine issue is absolutely delightful. The art here, Clayman tends to be cheesecakier than I like in a lot of his stuff.
It's rough in a couple of spots.
But it's not as rough as I've seen in some of his other work. He keeps it a little bit more under control here than I've seen elsewhere.
But it's there.
Yeah.
Selena eating the ice cream.
Oh, yeah. I don't care for the splashes in the second issue when it just seems like it's 4 or 5 different amusement park things just laid on top of each other. I didn't have a lot of definition and separation between the images, and it just, instead of being energy and flowing and storytelling, it would just a muddled mesh to me.
There were a couple busy layout pages. It felt like they were going for something more of like a scrapbook feel like with the pictures over top each other, but I could see that.
The art is good, aside from the male gaze, but I would have liked some tidier layouts.
I mean, Tom King had phenomenal artists this entire run.
That is the thing with Tom King in general. I think if Tom King worked with lesser artists, he would not be as well regarded as he is. But he works with the best of the best over and over again.
It's a visual
Whether,
medium.
yeah, exactly. Whether it's Mitch Gerrits or Mikel Janin or Greg Smallwood, or I could just sit here and just go through his Gabriel Walta. It's a murderer's row of artists over and over again. Jorge Fornes. But no matter what Tom King can do, he did not find a way to make Dr. Double X the next Kite Man. Could not save that character. That is another C-lister from the Silver Age who, yeah, no, nobody cares. Sorry, Dr. Double X.
Hell no.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else from anyone?
I believe that means it's time for Super Friends Date Night Batman 3637 on the big board.
We are at 672 stories on the big board.
God damn.
Number one is the post-crisis origin of Batman, Batman Year One.
Still at a sexy 69, it's Batman 14 to 15 Rooftops.
At 150 is Dark Knight Dark City, the first appearance of Barbatos. At 300 is the Joker Devil's Advocate graphic novel.
At 420, coming in real high, not nearly as close to the bottom as it once was, it's Detective Comics number 824, a little number from Paul Dini, that I've got titled, Why Won't Paris Hilton Fuck Me?
At 450 is the first arc of this Tom King run, I Am Gotham. And all the way at the bottom, at 672, it is Three Jokers.
Ooh, boy, what a bad comic. Top 100.
Yes.
Yay.
Now the question is, so you just said it, well, 69 is Rooftops. Are we above Rooftops?
Yeah, I think so. Rooftops is beautiful. There's more substance here, I think.
So yeah, if you're ranking some of these days, rooftops and date night, I think rooftops is third. And some of that might just be because it's much more similar to some of these days, which is just peak. But yeah, I could see. I mean, they're both great.
50 might be a tough nut to crack. Golem of Gotham.
Mm.
That's a golem. This is Clayman. That's basically the same thing.
Boo!
I mean, I think even if we could argue above that, I think the hard ceiling is probably Tower of Babel at 43.
Mm. Are you putting it above 52, No Hope in Crime Alley? Another emotional core character story.
See, I'm a bad choice on that one because of my affection for Leslie Tompkins. I have a hard time.
Tell you what. I'm just gonna lay it down. Plot my weenus out on the table. Give you a number.
Okay.
54. Under Return of Bruce Wayne, above movie adaptation.
That actually sounds perfect.
I think that sounds good to me. Look at that. Cracking the top 100 at this point is not an easy task.
And for as regarded as he is on this show, Tom King has quite a few entries in the top 50.
When he's good, he's great. When he's not great, he's terrible.
That is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Therein lies the rub. Formalism that gets real old real quick.
Our second story of the night is Last Tango in Paris. This is Batman Adventures Volume 1, number 13. The writer is Kelly Puckett, with pencils by Mike Parabek, inks by Rick Burchett, colors by Rick Taylor, letters by Tim Harkins, and edited by Scott Peterson and Darren Vincenzo. The cover date is October of 1993. A statue stolen from Ra's al Ghul leads Batman and Talia on a hunt and a romantic trip to the City of Lights. The first thing I just do not understand about this, why in the hell did you name this thing Last Tango in Paris?
I know. I spent the whole time waiting for a butter scene and I never got one.
I mean, and listen, this was written for kids. The kids aren't going to get the reference. But if you're going to go with a reference, we'll always have Paris.
But like, you wouldn't do a Riddler story in Batman Adventures and call it Behind the Green Door.
Yes! It's like that, the story that we could not do nowadays one way or the other from the Bronze Age. There's an issue of Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane called I Am Curious Black.
Yes, that's classic.
Right,
oh my God.
It's like,
Will, have you seen this cover? You've had to have seen this cover.
Oh, yeah.
It's had to have been memed to you before. Where Lois Lane has to. Don't try to stop me, Clark. I have to experience life as a black woman.
No, but I'm going to Google that real quick.
Yep. But it's a reference to an erotic film called I Am Curious Yellow. Why are you like, no, this story should have been called We'll Always Have Paris. You do the Casablanca reference, which is more where the story goes in the end about choices and all of that. But I just got stuff like, oh, I forgot that was the title of this story. I remember all of the Paris stuff, and I forgot. And I guess when I first read it, when I was 12, I didn't get the reference either.
Holy shit.
Look at that Lois Lane cover, huh?
It's important that I live the next 24 hours as a black woman.
It is very well intentioned. It does not work, but it is very well intentioned.
Oh, it could be mine right now for $255.
Or you can read the 80 Years of Lois Lane hardcover that is on Infinite, and I'm sure Comixology, where that is most assuredly included.
Ooh.
Oh, I could get it slabbed for
I didn't get the Lois 80 Years
$265.
one. I got a couple of the 80 Years collections, but
Yeah, they're pretty nice. I got that one at Ollie's for like $10.
hey,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of deluxe hardcovers as well.
Yeah, and I've got that one. I've got the Two-Face one. The
I
Joker.
got that one at Ollie's for like $7.
Same. Looking forward to spoilers. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be covering 3 stories from the Catwoman, one of those.
Ooh,
It's going to be fun.
this story. So my biggest issue with any Batman on a date story that doesn't include Catwoman will always be that it's not Catwoman. But honestly, this characterization of Talia, I just thought was wild. Like, I get
It's very soft.
animated
like really
series,
soft.
all ages version, but she should be hell on wheels, not reminiscent of like Mandy Moore in First Daughter or Chasing Liberty or whichever one that was. They made her the most vulnerable girl in the world. Like, she made like sad I'm about to cry face at him multiple times in like a 12-page story. Or they had her crying at the end.
And then there was the question that was to the effect of, don't you think I'm pretty? Like,
Yeah.
that's weird for
This is
Talia.
the daughter of the demon.
Yet she still is shooting the tires out of cars driving 70 miles an hour. There is dissonance in the portrayal of Talia here.
And I mean, and this isn't, not that it was done in the Batman Adventures or Puckett did it, but, when we talk about the animated series, we usually talk about how incredibly well they got the core of these characters to be able to make this all ages thing that was really suitable for kids and deep for adults, like what they did with Mr. Freeze, what they did with Man-Bat, what they did with they did so well on so many of these. And now I know this is just the comic go along, but I feel like with Batman the animated series, like you don't give them a pass, like, well, like, it's a smaller one, so they didn't have to necessarily get the character right, or we kind of expect more from this area because it's delivered so high so often.
I like the core idea of the story. I think the execution in some of those beats is off. But I think the idea of Bruce and Talia getting this one day where they're not at odds and having the day where they are just Bruce Wayne and Talia is lovely.
So talking about like essence of, because there's been different iterations of Talia, obviously. There have been people who've written her to be very Lady Shiva-esque, like much more just hard, we're going to kill everyone, all hard edges, nothing else. There are ones that make her very much like a mezzo soprano, like a mob boss's daughter, like trying to make her father happy, and he wants Batman for her, so she'll love Batman, and that'll be her husband. And then there's ones where, like she truly sees herself as like the greatest woman in the world, and so only this one man could possibly be on her level. And that version has a lot more confidence and than any of this. But like, how do you compare her to like a character like Maxima, right? Because you got a pretty similar, believe she should be betrothed to Superman, believe she should be betrothed to Batman. How similar or different should Talia be to Maxima in these things?
That is a really good question. And I think there is, as you said, Talia has been written much more all over the place than Maxima has. I mean, that is pretty much Maxima's shtick. But Talia, and the other problem that I run into is that the writers who have written her the most, I think, had very different views of the character. I think Denny O'Neil, her creator, and Grant Morrison had very, very different views of Talia.
Grant Morrison definitely redefined her. Tomasi took the Grant Morrison version for everything that he did in Batman and Robin and Super Sons and things moving forward for sure.
Morrison's version is much more broken. We saw it in the sort of Talia origin background issue at the beginning of Batman Inc. Volume 2. That there she is a character who Raish has coddled but also manipulated. And she, at that point, reaches the point where she's like, no, I'm done. I'm done with men treating me like an object to be used, and I am going to tear it all down. To a point where she becomes sociopathic. The way she treats Damian in that second volume of Batman Inc. is horrifying.
Yes.
And I think that is where a lot of people who are
He
Talia
was writing
fans,
her around Shadow War Alpha, in and around that, because they were definitely leaning on that. They were following that hard.
I mean, Williamson was the one doing Shadow War.
Yeah.
So I think it was really him in that period because he goes to Shadow War into all the Lazarus Island stuff, which is all right around that time, and it's all Williamson.
That part's great.
Yeah, I love the Damien tournament because Connor Hawke's back, but still,
Xander really loved the Josh Williamson Batman and Robin run that he had last year as well.
That was a lot of fun.
He was very disappointed when Trade 3 came in the mail, and he took one look at it and is like, "This isn't the same writer."
I still think Philip Kennedy Johnson did some good stuff.
He liked it. He wound up liking it, but there was like an immediate, like he looked at the cover and paused and looked up and is like, "This isn't the right one."
Oh no.
I think there is a line that can be done with Talia stories, and I think that who I would someday, if we could find some more Talia stories, Nadia Shamas. She's written some Batman stuff. She is a gigantic Talia al Ghul fan. I met her at a con, and the two of us talked Talia for quite a while. And I would love to have her to come on to talk about interpretations of Talia al Ghul. It's hard. Do I think Talia loved Bruce for who he was? Yes. Because regardless of the continuity, she meets Bruce and talks to Ra's about him. She brings Batman to Ra's al Ghul's attention. So there had to be interest there somewhere. But I think that
I think
it's
I know you've said this before. What is your Son of the Demon as canon feelings?
I'm not in love with Morrison's Talia drugged him to get him to sleep with her to produce Damien. I want to believe that that was a consensual romantic moment between the two of them.
Bruce Wayne's got to have the greatest pullout game in the world. I mean, come on.
Oh.
Who is the master of anticipation?
Coitus interruptus.
It's tricky. Talia is a really hard character to crack. And I think this story airs on the opposite end of the spectrum that later Morrison stuff does. Where here she's too soft and there she's too hard. The her crying at the end is a bit much is much. I like the one panel when they're on their date when they're having a nice moment and Bruce just cuts and he just looks, we should go. It'll be dark soon. You just see her look down. She doesn't say anything. She's not in tears. She's just, you can see the sadness of, we were having this moment finally, but you're always going to be Batman. I love that so much of this issue is silent and gives Parabek stuff to play with, both in that date sequence and at the beginning when Bruce goes into the hotel room and you see him doing the detective thing, going over all the spots in the room and reconstructing what happened. Very Batman.
The art, the style, the tone, all of that was very, very enjoyable. Like it elicits all the feels of turning on an episode of the animated series. Like it's got that right for sure. I really, my only pick, and it's not a nitpick because it's not a little thing, like it's a major character issue, but is just the extremely vulnerable Talia al Ghul that I thought was a wild representation choice.
Agreed.
And I was saying before with the having that we'll always have Paris as the name, when our mastermind behind the whole thing shows up, dude is Sidney Greenstreet. He is flat out Sidney Greenstreet, whether it's Casablanca or Maltese Falcon. This is your, yes, sir. I give the woman another 5 minutes, 10 for the American. It absolutely reads like Sidney Greenstreet. Why aren't you naming this after Casablanca and not after friggin' Marlon Brando being a creep?
You think there's an issue of Jonah Hex somewhere named Midnight Cowboy?
Ooh. Ooh.
Maybe that or Batlash. Parabek really was just the ideal artist for this book. He really just always got the assignment when it came to Batman the Animated Series style.
Nailed it.
And I love the last page also with Talia having left and Bruce just standing in the rain and watching him just using the fire behind him dying down and the rain pouring. It elicits more.
I feel like there's like 40 episodes of the animated series that end with one character standing in the rain while another one walks away.
Yeah. Yeah. Lot of that.
Definitely a lot.
Captures the essence. Let's be fair. This one might be in Paris, but Gotham, it's raining, what do you say, 220 days out of 365? There's not a city with a lot of sun.
No.
Oh, that means it's time. But Batman Adventures number 13, Last Tango in Paris. On the big board.
Looking for other adventures stories.
Where's that little red book one that we did on like my first episode that you picked out?
Way down. That one has,
I had issues with that one too.
yeah. Oh, that's down at, oh boy, 531. I feel like that's wound up a little, it's gotten pushed down over the time. I don't think that one, this isn't down there.
Oh, I mean,
Probably in the 400s, though.
if
Yeah.
you were reseeding Little Red Book, I'd still put it below Batman Noel. Okay,
Uh,
400s on this one?
yeah. Probably mid 400s. I think I would probably put it above 450, which is, it's not an Adventures, but it is another animated series tie-in. It's that wacky Adam Strange Christmas Batman Adventures we did this past Christmas. Maybe right above that?
Public Enemies is a similar characterizations.
Yeah, the Amanda Waller in there is real off. The fact that she doesn't punch Luthor in the face after he kissed her will eternally bother me. And Battle
Um,
for the Cowl, the characterization of Damien there is just flat out wrong.
But this is that zone now.
how about just above Public Enemies, new 446?
Okay.
Or
I
no,
mean,
excuse me, that'd be the new 447.
yes, because Bat Ape is 446, so this will be 447. And our last story of the night is Birds of Rage. This is Convergence, Nightwing Oracle numbers 1 to 2. The writer is Gail Simone, with pencils by Jan Duursema, inks by Dan Parsons, colors by Wes Zioba, letters by Carlos M. Manuel, and edited by Brittany Halter and Michael Krager. The cover dates are June to July of 2015. On Brainiac's world of bottled cities, Nightwing and Oracle are pitted against a savage Hawkwoman and Hawkman for the life of their city. But can Barbara get past the creeping depression of being trapped to stop the Hawks and decide on her future with Nightwing?
So I take it from that description, this is like a Battle World kind of deal.
This
Yeah.
is hilariously one of those deep impact Armageddon situations where both Marvel and DC released simultaneously to the point that there is no way that one or the other could have necessarily been copying off the other. The same basic concept of we have cities, regions from different continuities all dropped into one world and pitted against each other.
Nice.
Convergence was a 2-month event that was basically created so when DC was moving their offices from New York to LA, as opposed to having to really edit and keep their eye on the line, they had all of these miniseries primed and done that they could just drop in there while all of the editorial and stuff was being re-put together. It was
Man, it
a
would have been terrible if you just took 2 months off.
it, for sales it might have been better, I'll tell you that, based on what I remember from the comic shop.
I am of the opinion and have been. I heard someone suggest this a long time ago, and I just feel like it's so perfect. I don't know why we've never had, and I would love to see the two big publishers move to like a classic TV schedule type of format.
Seasons.
Seasons, right? Like you do a 5 issue arc and a trade in the fall. You can have a Christmas special, your annual, whatever. You do a 5 issue arc and a trade in the spring. And then you have line wide crossover for 2 months in the summer. You have these natural points where everyone's stories are kind of starting and getting to managing your entire universe, your big event each year. Everything lines up. No one's, crossing over, or I'm in the middle of mine, so I don't want to bring the characters to do this. Like you can reset artists and writers. They're all starting and ending at the same. Like, and it would make it so much easier for readers to actually follow and know where they're jumping on, which seems to be like going back to the X-Men Krakoa era. Like, I think the big lesson learned from that was that you can make big two comics as deep and complicated in their world and make them good. But at some point, like, you couldn't just pick up an issue of X-Men from like 23 months into the Krakoan era and have any idea you couldn't make up the attrition. Seasons would fix that. And yet we just still do this chaos. Like they're getting worse with publishing.
And this type of thing, the let's take a couple months off and do miniseries, whether it's this or the recent Age of Revelation in the X books or Secret Wars at this exact same point with Marvel, from a retail standpoint, this is a nightmare because retailers look at this and say,
You don't have
this,
subs on any of these.
yep. And this is an excuse for people to say, I was kind of on the fence about this book. Yeah, I'm done. So we're replacing Extraordinary X-Men with Expatriate X-Men for 3 months. I was on the fence about Extraordinary X-Men. So now that it's gone for a few months, yeah, you can just take it off my list. I'm not going to get this other thing. And when it comes back, I'm not going to be interested. Same thing for any of this type of thing. It is a nightmare. And it's the simple case of it worked once. It worked with Age of Apocalypse because it was novel at that point. Now it's just something that publishers do, and it never works, and it tends to just cost you readers.
Is Age of Apocalypse the only one that if you told them put me down for every issue that like you made the right choice? Because I think I've done this like 3 or 4 times, and every time I feel like I did it with Convergence. Like I was so excited. Like when they showed me that there was a Speed Force issue with Wally and Linda, and they have the kids, and I'm like, fucking give me all of this. And there's never enough there's never enough story or meat like for what they actually put out. Like they always go as far into diminishing returns as they can. And I'm remembering that as I am in the middle of spending way too much money on DCKO because we got so excited at the beginning and I said, put me down for all of it.
And that has at least been generally fewer books. That was not as much as Convergence. Convergence was a lot of freaking titles.
But it was all of these, like, we got the Kingdom Come characters back in one. We got, I got Wally and Linda and the kids. I got the Dan Jurgens, Lois and Clark, like completely changed.
There were some really good ones. This one, the Greg Rucka and Cully Hamner doing a question miniseries. That was great. But then you also had a lot of them that were real forgettable. But you also had Wonder Woman versus Vampire Joker from the vampire world. That was fun.
There was Superboy. You brought Connor Superboy back that we hadn't had in forever.
Kelly Jones drawing a Swamp Thing 2 issue. That was gorgeous. But then you also had ones where it was like, I remember being pretty disappointed in the Stephanie Brown one. It just didn't really click.
The Gotham City Sirens one was a little, but I think that just felt like more because of wherever Gotham City Sirens ended. Like I got the feeling that was because that thing ended in like a weird cut off unresolved mess place from New 52. And so that's where we got those characters when they picked back up.
Yep. The same thing they did one with the Atom where it was like, okay, hey, it's Ryan Choi. He's back, but he was dead. He's back.
Yeah, he's back.
But here we get Gail Simone finally getting to do the Nightwing Oracle story that I think she always wanted to do. But again, editorial was like, no, you can't marry Dick Grayson and Barbara
Dan
Gordon.
Didio at this point in it? Because we're in like a year away from Rebirth.
He was still very much involved, but I think he didn't give a crap about any of this.
Well, because here's one of the great famous Dan Didio things I've overheard is here at MegaCon around the time of the New 52 launch. I don't remember if it was like the summer before or after, but he was going through, what we looked up and confirmed was his 5th divorce, I believe.
Poor guy.
He was just on a rant tear because someone had asked him about some couple, or it might have been Ollie and Dinah or someone, but he's like, superheroes don't get married. They don't have time for it. Marriage is like, he was on this just anti-marriage rant tear. No heroes, and no, Aquaman and Mira aren't married. Superman and Lois aren't married. No heroes are married.
This is a guy who's bringing his troubles to the office.
Yeah.
Oh,
But then 3, 4 years later, so he was running it right before the end of New 52, where if Gail wanted to bow it out like that, he was going through divorce number 5 and was like, fuck no, no one's getting married. But someone let her in Convergence.
I remember I once saw him, and he's like, "Why does Oracle need to exist? You don't need it. Why Batman's not the world's greatest detective if he has Oracle doing the detective work." I'm like, every detective has, like Sherlock Holmes had the Baker Street Irregulars. The detectives always have this network. Just because you have a network of people giving you information, it doesn't mean you're not a detective. You keep using these words. I do not think they mean what you think they mean. But this is one of the better of these miniseries, and part of it is Gail's charm as a writer here, and part of it is I friggin' love Jan Duursema as an artist. Her Star Wars stuff with John Ostrander is my favorite Star Wars comics ever, bar none. Whether it's the Republic or the Legacy stuff or the Dawn of the Jedi, like she and Ostrander did must have been over 100 issues of different Star Wars series together, and she just drew amazing stuff. And here, she's a great artist for character interaction and faces. My personal sketchbook, she is the artist who I got to do Oracle
Yes.
because it's just Barbara. You need someone who can make the character distinct if you're getting just a sketch. And so it was shortly after this, and I was like, "You're the artist I would like to draw Oracle, please." But I think that we get a lot of looking at what this world would be like, where you've been trapped in a dome for an indeterminate amount of time. And while a lot of the miniseries played with that, a lot of them did it in more, talking just about dwindling resources or the way people would, fight with each other. Here, it's really about what that does to you, your psychology. Barbara just going through the question of what the point is when you're trapped under a dome is written really well and really thoughtfully.
Because it's also difficult with this group of characters of all of them because you have no man's land in their background, right? You have a similar experience. And so it kind of felt like it got a little closer to it with like the Poison Ivy quick page. But yeah, it's funny because I read all of these when it came out, right? It was 2015, you said?
Yeah,
2016, 2015.
2015.
So it was like a little over 10 years ago. I completely forgot about the domes. Completely. That was the thing in like all of these. And that was the one thing where I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's how we got here. Like, because I cared. You could give me I don't care what the excuse was that you needed to give me, a 2-issue Nightwing and Oracle pre-New 52 miniseries in 2015. Like, I would have followed any leap of logic there.
Well, that was really where we were at. The New 52 was really about at its nadir there. That was the we've worked this thing, and
The next excitement that would occur would be that it was over.
yeah. Pitting them against the Hawks was mostly, I think, just because it's the bird thing. I can't think of
Birds of Rage.
yeah, I can't think of another opposite number that would have been. I wouldn't want to be like, okay, let's fight other versions of Bat characters.
See, I wasn't even really thinking of like the birds, although obviously it's there. You got the mentions of the acrobats and what the Hawks are. But to me, it almost felt more like going the other direction from where Babs is, right? That here is this person who has limited mobility. Here is this person who can't walk. And so the combatant, her equal, this one she has to face, not only can, but can fly. Like it's that, and for her to, be able to get over on that.
Barbara, who at this point is feeling almost nothing, versus the Hawks, who are so adamant about their own survival that they are willing to sell out their own world so they can rebuild another world in their own image.
They're basically just like, fuck those people.
And I do love the end of the first issue. I'm Barbara friggin' Gordon. I've been fighting them for 10 minutes.
I'm
Yes.
already on this, Sticky Boy.
Yeah. Listen, this whole concept could not have supported much more than this. But this is one of these miniseries where I would have loved to spend a little more time with Barbara processing her feelings about all of this.
They kept like two, right? I obviously Jurgens, Lois, and Clark. Wasn't there another one they kept? Three series spinning out of it. The Telos thing that
Titans.
Titans.
Yes, that all of the rejiggering of continuity after this got the Titans remembering, the original Titans remembering that they knew each other because they had no connection in the New 52. And it comes out of it, and Dick is starting to be like, wait a minute. And he and Roy and Donna, who had all reappeared, and Garth, who had reappeared, and that Titans Hunt miniseries leads right into Rebirth #1
Yes, with
and
Wally
Wally's return. Yeah, those were the three things. And then also over in the Green Lantern books, the Hal Jordan, the 0 Hour Hal Jordan Parallax shows up to
that was
fight.
another one.
I think they were the only things that really came out of this. Most of this was, let's give some swan song to some of the stuff we never think we're going to get back to, that we eventually got back to all of it.
I loved this, though. I loved getting these characters back just for 2 months because it was desolate.
Oh, yeah. I remember there was a JLI miniseries. There was a Shazam one from, I think it was definitely Doc Shaner on art. And I think it was maybe
Larfleeze might have been like the best book DC was publishing at this point. Like these things were like the end of the Scott Snyder run, like even like You're in Blue, like Azzarello left Wonder Woman and you just had the Finches. It was rough.
I mean,
DC Comics.
And at least out of this, we got DCU. So we started getting the Starfire series, Gotham Academy, Midnighter. There was some fun stuff that spun out of this. But leading into it, it was... Batman Eternal would have just ended. We had the Futures End weekly, which was arduous.
The thing that was printed.
Yeah, a thing that no one remembers, and rightly so. This is fun, and Simone writes a really fun Dick Grayson. She gets the joy that is Dick Grayson.
And she gets Babs and how they complement each other, like she always has.
And she gets that nice little cameo, more than a cameo, little appearance from Canary. Mm-hmm. And Babs just knowing exactly what to do is like, oh, they hear everything. Let them hear you, Dinah. Oh, so good. And you can't hack our Absorbiscons. No, I can't. But the Brainiac robots, those I can hack. As Barbara points
Brainiac
out.
robots in particular, because that version of Barbara has been in that hive mind.
Oh, yeah. We need to get to that story someday.
That'd be for our Pluribus episode.
But I love at the end when Barbara also says that, the thing that they always underestimate me. And I love that. That's so true. Everyone underestimates, you're just the computer girl until she takes you down.
So if this wasn't released the way it was, if this was 2 issues of Gail Simone's Birds of Prey from her 3rd year on the title or whatever, I don't know that there's as much in the story, really. This is special because of when it was released. This is special because we were 4 years into New 52 and had been given nothing we were promised, and the characters were getting darker and more isolated from each other almost in this shared universe. And then we got everything we missed back. We got like one perfect night with Dick Babs again.
The last page when you see the wedding You look at it and it's like, okay, and there's the birds and Lois and Clark and Bruce and Wally and Alfred and the Batgirls. Aw. The wedding, you know you're never gonna get in continuity, but because it's out of continuity, you get that moment. And it's just lovely. Just as a shout out to it, because we do love it around here, the Wayne Family Adventures strip from last week, as we're recording, is Dick and Babs of that world sitting down and talking about it and deciding to give their relationship, a romantic relationship, another shot and having a real adult conversation about it. And reading that and then reading this, it's like, aw.
That means that it's time. But Convergence, Nightwing, Oracle, 1 and 2, Birds of Rage on the big board!
Will, which
Sir.
did you like more, Birds of Rage or Last Tango in Paris?
So I'm
You don't
missing a
have the
lot.
emotional attachment to Birds of Rage.
Yeah, I'm missing a lot of this context. It was weird, a little scary. Talia though is just not right. So I think by virtue of that, this would have to go higher than Last Tango in Paris.
I mean, I think we're probably, as much as I like this, and I do, Convergence is a footnote in DC history. It is not going to be a story that is going to be remembered in the long run. This was a drop of water in a desert. So the fond recollections of it, and it's a good story, but this falls not in Trifle Town, but kind of right above Trifle Town. Because there is real character here and some great, great Barbara Gordon character moments.
These types of cash grabby mini releases, right, have a different ceiling, right? So if, the best they could be is a C plus or a B minus, right, that's usually not remarkable. But I think one of the things about this is that if it was a C plus or a B minus, the line as a whole was a D or an F at the point. Like it was better than what we were getting coming out of the Superman books or the Batman books, or we were a little bit past Gothtopia.
Oh, God.
The rest of it was just done.
We had Endgame, which was okay. We had the Search for Damien, or the Resurrection of Damien, which was right before this, which was okay. But yeah, Detective was Gothtopia. And I think we had seen the end of Dark Knight a little before that. Catwoman was in an
Catwoman was better post Eternal.
yes, because we had the Genevieve Valentine, like the crime
The problem was
Catwoman book.
no, like you and 3 other people were like the total readership.
Yeah. I don't even remember what was going on in Nightwing at that point. That
Grayson.
was Oh yeah, we were at Grayson. Right. There was no Nightwing by that point. We were flat out in Grayson by this point. Because we were Forever Evil. Yeah, oh boy.
Like the roadmap of like the new 50, like if you took like the 12 biggest properties or titles or characters or whatever from New 52 and you just like tracked them for that like 5 years, like it is wild.
Right. Yeah, because in my head, Grayson is after that, but no, Grayson does start before Convergence, and then, yeah, right, because it would,
So this was a dark time in DC Comics,
yeah,
and Marvel was absolutely killing it. Like this is, like you said, this is Hickman Avengers era concluding with Secret Wars.
Bendis on X-Men, which that era gets a lot of shit, but I like a lot of that Bendis era X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the Jason Aaron Thor, there's Marvel was, I remember having talks in the like my LCS about like, man, how great the writer disparity was. Like, who are your top 3 writers on DC? And we were like Scott Snyder, and then you just stop and it's like Jeff Lemire, like Charles Soule. And then we're like, okay, so how many Marvel writers would you take before you get to like where you're picking those three? Like if you're just drafting, and they had at the time they had Hickman, Bendis, and Fraction, and DeConnick,
Oh,
and
and this was
Mender, and Aaron,
The
and
way Daredevil was going on
Wade,
at this
and
point.
yeah,
And right now in the industry, we are at the exact opposite.
exact opposite.
Okay, but we're way off topic here.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm
But so,
thinking,
so I think that context that it was, kind of like if we're talking about a sports era, like, this was coming out at a, like you said, the nadir. Like this was this was so needed at the time for readers and better than so much of what they were putting out. I think that should mean something.
yeah. I mean, I think that gets it into the 300s. But right now, 300 itself is Archie Goodwin's first Batman story, Death Mask with Jim Aparo. I mean, I don't think it's beating that. Or I mean, I'm looking at like some of the stuff in the mid, like it's
About
not.
that Red Hood Outlaws that you just did a month or two ago.
That was a
That's at
lot of fun.
371. That's kind of characters off on the side. It's Artemis and
Bizarro.
Jason instead of Dick and Babs.
Yeah.
But I haven't read that yet, although I added it to my Amazon cart after listening to that episode.
I think you'll enjoy it. I think the boys will enjoy it too.
Dander's a big Jason Todd fan.
Oh yeah, that it's definitely right in there. I think maybe right above that, just because this is more canon than that, even though it's not canon. This is at least connected to the DC universe versus that, which is its own thing.
Canon adjacent.
Yeah, but I don't know if it. What do you? I mean, do you think it beats that Mr. Freeze origin, the New 52 Mr. Freeze origin, right above that?
No.
Okay, then I think it's the new 371.
New 371 it is.
Someday we're going to get to some of the other ones of these. Josh, thank you as ever for coming on the show. We always appreciate you.
Thank you. Always happy to be here. Love my Bat Chat.
And that is it for this week. Next week, John Wickham will be back, and we're reading 3 more stories by Tom King.
Oh boy, so much King. I bet it's gonna be his best stuff.
We can dream. Remember, you can support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/batchat with Matt and Will, where you can get shout outs, bonus content, pick a story, and even come on the show. We'd like to thank those Patreon backers: Dan Grote, Josh Wheel,
Hey,
That guy right there.
Mrs. Abigail Hartbaum,
Mm.
Asma Fangirl, Tony Thornley,
Go Aggies.
Sam Hopper,
Go to bed, Sam. It is so late. It's so late. Look, it's almost 10 o'clock here. It's like 14 hours in the future there, and I know that's only 6, but still, go to sleep.
John Wickham,
John, be kind.
Robert Secundus,
Bobby, you're doing better. You're doing better. You're hanging in there.
Tim Rooney, Giorgio Sergioli, David Wheel,
World's Greatest Graybout.
Alexander Wheel, Matt McThorne,
McThorny.
Dan Off,
Barely newer.
Nate Randell, Daniel Mosley, Ross Holmes,
Mr. Random Ace.
Will Crisp,
Me compadre, who's been there for me for a long time, and it's been a rough week or so, and I really appreciate him. So if you made it all the way to the end of this, I love you, my man.
Carlos Cordova, Jordan Jennings, Charlie Etheridge Nunn, Sean Shambly, and The Final Wraith
Oh, the final wraith, the spookiest wraith.
for their support. This show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music/Audible, YouTube Music, Podbean, and on comicsxf.com, where new episodes drop every Thursday. You can find me on Blue Sky, where I talk about comics and other random things, and Letterboxd, where I review all the movies I watch, both at MattLaz1013.
You can, for some reason, continue to find me on Twitter at Will Nevin. Again, I don't ever do anything on there. I don't know what I'm doing. Tonight, I'm gonna go chug some Target brand Dake. Well, oh my, I forgot. I've got the good stuff. I've got the NyQuil, so I'm gonna go chug that, get some water, and then I'm gonna go to bed. Good night, Huntsville.
And be sure to visit ComicsXF at comicsxf.com or ComicsXF on Blue Sky for our weekly Friday Batchat roundup of new Bat books. For my other show, the ComicsXF Interview Podcast, where my longtime best friend Dan Grote and I interview comics creators, retailers, publishers, journalists, and other related tradespeople, as well as all the other stuff Will and I are writing. And stay safe out there, folks. Gotham is not a place to be after dark.